All right. Welcome in, everyone, to another deep dive
Yeah.
where we like to take something that you are interested in and kind of dig in deep
Right.
and figure out, what's going on.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be looking at a source that you sent in, which is Second John.
Jessica John. Yes.
Yeah.
A very short letter.
From the New Testament.
Yes. But a very powerful one.
Yes.
Really fascinating look at some of the challenges that the early church was dealing with.
Right from the beginning, this letter is addressed from somebody who calls himself the elder. Okay, so right away you're like, who is this guy? To the elect lady and her children. So immediately there's this kind of familial but also kind of mysterious tone to it.
Yeah.
And right away the elder is getting into some weighty issues. He's warning about these deceptive teachers, these folks who are spreading ideas that are not in line with what they believe, and he's trying to give some guidance on how to respond to that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the letter really gets at these core issues of, how do we discern truth from falsehood, especially when it comes to the identity of Jesus Christ? And then how does that discernment actually play out in how we relate to others?
Yeah, and even that opening line, right? The elect lady and her children has sparked a lot of debate over the years. Some folks have thought, well, maybe it's a literal woman named Electa and her family.
Right, right.
But as you read through the letter, the language kind of gives us some clues. Like later on, it shifts to you all, implying a group.
Right.
And then that mention of the children of your elect sister in verse 13 seems to point to connections between different communities.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. So the elect lady most likely refers to a local church,
Okay.
with her children being the members of that church. And that makes the reference to the elect sister make a lot more sense.
Okay.
Probably another local church that's connected to this one.
Right. So it's like this network.
Yeah, it gives us a sense of this network of these early churches
Mhm.
and that they're all dealing with some of these similar issues. And it really starts right there in that opening greeting in verses 1 through 3. The elder to an elect lady and her children, whom I love in truth, because of the truth, which abides in us and will be with us forever. Grace, mercy, and peace will be with you from God the Father and from Jesus Christ the Father's Son in truth and love. A lot packed into those 3 verses.
Right. Yeah. And even just that title, right? Elder, he doesn't give a specific name. And it really echoes the way the author refers to himself in the Gospel of John and in 3 John as well.
Yeah,
Makes you wonder if it's the same person.
right. I mean, we can't say for sure, but the themes, the vocabulary, the way he refers to himself definitely suggests a close connection between those Johannine writings.
Okay. Okay. And then that phrase, love and truth. This isn't just like, warm, fuzzy feelings. This is love rooted in something much deeper. It's a love grounded in what they believe to be the core theological truth about Jesus.
Right. It's not just about feeling.
Yeah, it's exactly
Truth here refers to, not just factual accuracy,
right.
but really to a right understanding of who Jesus is. Maybe even connecting it back to John's gospel, where the Holy Spirit is called the Spirit of Truth.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So the love is inseparable from their shared understanding of Christ.
Right. It's like they have this this foundation together, this shared belief, and that's where that love comes from.
Exactly. And then even that blessing that he wishes for them.
Yeah.
Grace, mercy, and peace.
Mm.
The fact that he says these come in truth and love
Yeah.
really emphasizes how fundamental these 2 concepts are to everything that he's about to say. It's setting the stage for the rest of the letter.
It's like he's laying the groundwork. It's not just, hey, how are you? It's like these things are really important.
Yeah, these are not just like standard greetings. They're
Right.
really setting the foundation for their relationship and for the message that he's about to give.
Yeah. Yeah. And then he moves on to kind of a mix of encouragement and a little bit of, I don't know, maybe a little bit of a warning, I guess, in verses 4 through 6. He writes, I rejoiced greatly to find some of your children walking in the truth, just as we have been commanded by the Father. But that word some
Yeah.
makes you think, maybe not everyone's on board here.
Yeah, it does stand out, doesn't it? Suggests that, maybe there's not full agreement
Right.
within the community about what this truth actually is. And it might even be the reason why he's writing this letter in the first place.
Right. Yeah. Like trying to address this this tension that might be brewing.
Right. And then, he goes on to urge them to love one another.
Yeah.
But he's quick to point out this is not a new commandment.
Right.
This is the commandment we have had from the beginning, again, connecting back to 1 John.
Right. This is the way it's always been.
Right. This is how you live this out.
Yeah.
And then he goes on to explain what this love actually looks like. This is love, that we walk according to his commandments.
So it's not just a feeling.
Right, it's action.
It's like, it's obedience.
It's obedient.
It's putting it into practice.
Yeah, it's really about, especially when faced with these different teachings, it's about how do you, how do you show love?
Mm-hmm.
By actually living out what you've been taught.
Aligning yourself.
Aligning yourself.
And with what's true.
Yeah. And that leads right into the central warning of the letter.
Okay.
In verses 7 and 8. For many deceivers have gone out into the world, those who do not confess the coming of Jesus Christ in the flesh. Such a one is the deceiver and the antichrist. Wow, really strong language there.
Strong words, yeah. Deceivers, antichrist. Like, this is serious business.
Yeah. Yeah, clearly these deceivers have shown up, and that's why he's right in this letter. And the specific thing that they're denying, that Jesus Christ came in the flesh, this probably relates to early forms of Gnosticism or Docetism.
Okay, and what is that for those who don't know?
Yeah, so Gnosticism and Docetism, these were, they were ways of thinking that basically downplayed or even denied the physical reality of Jesus' humanity.
Yeah.
They saw spirit as good and matter as evil. So for them, Jesus couldn't have really been a physical flesh and blood human being.
So he just kind of appeared to be.
Right, exactly. They believed that he only seemed human. So you can see how this would be a huge problem for the elder, because it strikes at the very heart of what they believe.
Yeah.
If someone came along today and said, oh, George Washington wasn't actually a real person, he was just a myth.
Right.
It would totally change how we understand American history.
Yeah.
And similarly, denying that Jesus was actually physically human undermines the whole Christian message.
Yeah, it really changes the story.
It changes the story.
Yeah, and calling them the deceiver and the antichrist is just, wow. I mean, he's really drawing a line in the sand here. Now, he may not be saying that every single one of these teachers is the antichrist,
Right.
like, the big bad guy we read about in other parts of the New Testament. But it's a powerful way of saying, look, this kind of thinking is aligned with the enemy of our faith.
Yeah. He's saying this is how serious this is.
It's dangerous.
You need to understand the danger.
Yeah. Yeah. And then he goes on to urge them to watch out that you do not lose what we have worked for, but may you receive a full reward. So it sounds like their community has been, putting in a lot of effort to grow, to share their faith. And he's saying all that could be lost if they're not careful.
Yeah. It's like investing a ton of time and energy into building something beautiful and important, and then someone comes along and tries to destroy it.
Right.
That's how strongly he feels about this threat. And then that promise of a full reward, that's a powerful motivator.
Yeah, it's like, it's worth it to stay true to what we believe.
Yeah, your faithfulness has eternal significance.
Absolutely, yeah. Now things get really direct in verses 9 through 11, where he talks about how they should actually deal with these false teachers. And this is where some folks today might feel a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because he's not messing around. He says, whoever transgresses and does not abide in the doctrine of Christ does not have God. He who abides in the doctrine of Christ has both the Father and the Son. Like, there's a clear boundary there.
Yeah, he's drawing a line in the sand, right? It's really about the core of the Christian faith.
Right.
If you depart from this central teaching about who Jesus is,
yeah,
you're outside of fellowship with God. It's black and white.
It's pretty stark.
Yeah.
And then comes the part that really raises some eyebrows. He says, if anyone comes to you and does not bring this teaching, do not receive him into your house or give him any greeting. Now, this might sound harsh to modern ears, but it's important to understand the context. It's not about being, personally mean or rude.
Right.
It's about protecting the community and the integrity of their faith. It's like a security protocol.
Yeah.
You wouldn't let just anybody with the wrong credentials into a secure area.
Right.
And similarly, they're saying, look, we need to be discerning about who we welcome into our fellowship.
And it's not that you have to be rude to them if you see them in the street or whatever.
Right.
But you don't welcome them into your home.
Right.
You don't give them a greeting that would suggest that you endorse their teaching.
That you're on the same page.
Yeah. It's a way of separating, of saying we don't align with you theologically.
Yeah. And he explains why in verse 11. He says, for he who greets him shares in his evil works. So the idea is if you're welcoming someone who's spreading what you believe to be a false teaching, you're kind of giving them a platform.
Yeah.
You might even be leading others astray.
Right, exactly. It could be confusing for other people.
Yeah. So it's really about maintaining those boundaries for the sake of truth.
For the sake of truth.
And the well-being of the community. It really challenges us to think about how we handle those kinds of situations today,
Yeah. How do we balance openness and love for people while at the same time being discerning about what we believe?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's not always easy. Now, as we wrap things up here, the letter starts to wind down in verses 12 and 13. The elder says, "Having many things to write to you, I did not wish to do so with paper and ink, but I hope to come to see you and speak face to face, that our joy may be full." That seems significant, that he wants to meet in person.
Yeah, I think it's really beautiful, actually.
Yeah.
Even though he's giving this very serious warning, he
Yeah.
still wants to have that face-to-face connection with them.
That personal touch.
Yeah, he's saying, letters are great, but there's something even deeper.
There's a limit.
There's a limit to what you can communicate that way.
Yeah.
Real fellowship happens when you're together.
Yeah. Yeah. And then he closes with a simple greeting: "The children of your elect sister greet you." Again, just highlighting that connection between these communities.
Yeah, they're not isolated. They're part of something bigger.
You're supporting each other.
They're supporting each other.
Yeah. So to sum it all up for you, our listener, this deep dive into T. John has shown us a community that's facing a really serious challenge from teachings that are undermining their core beliefs about Jesus. And the elder's message is clear. He's saying, prioritize truth as the foundation of love. Actively live out your faith through obedience. Be on guard against those who are spreading falsehood, and be discerning about how you interact with them, not out of, personal animosity, but to protect the community.
Yeah. It's a powerful reminder that truth isn't just an abstract idea. It has very real, practical implications for how we live, how we treat each other, and how we build our communities.
It shapes everything.
It shapes everything.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
much to think about in this short letter. So, listener, here's a final thought for you to chew on. We live in a world that's overflowing with information. It's coming at us from all sides. How do we sift through all of that and discern what is true? And then how do we put that truth into action? How do we make it real in our relationships and our communities?
Yeah, it's a challenge. But Casa Janot offers us some really valuable wisdom.
Something to think about.
Definitely something to think about.
Yeah. Well, this has been another deep dive. We'll see you next time.
See you then.
Bye.